Anytime that you're trying to introduce brand new routines or procedures, there's always that grace period, that time period where students are putting things in the wrong spot, they're forgetting to do certain tasks, and you're having to provide reminders. And sometimes you're providing reminders multiple times during the day, which can be incredibly exhausting for a teacher. And so in this video, I want to share with you one simple thing that you can put into practice this year that will help making these routines and procedures go so much more smoothly. Routines are great. Procedures are great. We have to have them inside of our classroom, especially because we have lots of little bodies that we are in charge of, and making sure that every single one of those students are doing the things that they need to be doing in order for the classroom to run well. It can be hard, especially at the beginning of the year. And it can be even harder when it's the middle of the year and you have a brand new student show up into your classroom. So how do we support all of our students and even those brand new students that we're going to get throughout the year to ensure that they know the routines and the procedures and they can run them very smoothly without you having to feel like a broken record? So in this video, we're talking all about SOPs. What is an SOP? So an SOP is a standard operating procedure. Now, this sounds very businessy, and that's because it is very much a business term, and it's nothing that's new. It's very much new to the education space, but not into any of the other industries that we see out there. And so with the standard operating procedure, all it is that everyone knows exactly what they should be doing and when they should be doing it. When you start a brand new job, you're entering a brand new company, and you're fulfilling a brand new role, they're going to give you a list of SOPs. And they're going to tell you, hey, here's how we run as a business, and here's how everything is really structured. You could always reference this so that you know and you feel confident in doing the job at hand. And so this is very much similar for students. We can use this idea of standard operating procedures within a business world or any other field that's out there. And we can start to identify what are those procedures that we really want students to be able to do. Now, obviously, we're going to make them a little bit more kid-friendly rather than just having it typed up in a Google Doc and then sharing it with our students, because that's not going to be effective. Our students need things to be modeled for them. They need to have an opportunity to practice, and they need to have something that's more visually appealing and simple in order for them to be able to reference. And so I'm going to show you a very simple way to build these standard operating procedures with your classroom, but also how to save them in the future so that if you have a brand new student come into your classroom, you could just whip this bad boy out and then just hand it to them. And that way they have something that they can look to for guidance as they start to kind of get the hang of things, because nothing's worse than feeling like you go into a classroom and you have no idea who anyone is and everybody has friends and you're just sitting there a little lost trying to keep up with everything. I have definitely felt this way as a student. Can you tell? So when we talk about standard operating procedures for students, again, we want these to be friendly for them. So one of the things that I recommend doing is printing out just a bunch of very simple designs, little clip arts that you can use. And if you want to take pictures of the items inside of your classroom, that's even better, because then students have something that they're looking for that they can reference to within that picture. Here, I just took some clip art off of Canva and I put them onto sheets of paper. So I made them a size that I thought would be good. As you can see here, there's a ton of them. So I just thought about what are all of the items, the tasks that I might want students to be able to work through or identify so that they could be successful in the day. And so those are all printed out. And then from there, what you will want to do is cut them out, because you want to be able to have access to them. And so with this standard operating procedure, whenever I used it within the classroom, we would talk about the routine that we were trying to put in place, and then we would build this routine together. Now, let's kind of put a pause real quick before I show you how to build this, and let's talk about what are some of those routines that we could possibly use this with. So there is some criteria for this. You don't want to create a standard operating procedure for everything. Like, there's not really a standard operating procedure for like raising your hand or getting the teacher to ask a question or answer a question. Like, you don't want to do it for those type of items. The standard operating procedures for a classroom is something that consists of multiple steps that you want students to remember. Here's the thing. Our kids' brains that are inside of our classrooms are not fully developed. Kids' brains are not fully developed until the age of 25. And so if we look at their executive function, which is very much responsible for the organization, for task management, time management, all the things that we want students to be able to do, it's not developed. There are students who are going to struggle when it comes to organizing and knowing the steps that they need to be doing things in. And that's where the standard operating procedure comes into play and is really beneficial for those students, because it's going to give them a little map of here are the things that I need to be doing in the order that I need to be doing them with. So you want to think about those routines that have multiple steps, lots of steps. These tend to be ones where it requires more independence of your students, but you still want to offer them guidance, because again, their executive function, it's not all the way there. It's just not fully developed. We can't expect all kids to be able to do all the things. So what type of procedures or routines or time periods in the day could we use this for? The first one is going to be your morning time. When students are coming into the classroom, that is a prime example for where you should create a standard operating procedure. Some other ones that I've done in the past is going to be like lunch and recess. When we're coming in from lunch or we're coming in from recess and we have kind of these items that we want students to be able to do. We want them to be able to wash their hands. We might want them to get a hand sanitizer. We might want them to put the equipment away, or we might need them to put their lunch boxes away or fill up their water bottles. Like, there's a lot that happens, a lot of moving parts. And when you have about 20 to 25 students inside of your classroom and all those bodies are moving at the exact same time, it feels a little overwhelming. So we're trying to kind of stop the chaos and make it more manageable for us. The other times you can think about this is during independent work time. You can create these standard operating procedures of like, here's kind of the flow of what this is going to look like when you're out there working independently with students. The end of the day is a really good option as well. And so those tend to have lots of different steps. Again, we may not end up doing something as simple as going to the bathroom, because that might not be a lot. Now, if you are somebody who has a QR code, you have kids like signing in and signing out, you might want to create one, but it's not necessarily as intricate or involved as some of those other periods during your day. The last one that I highly recommend doing this for is your classroom library. It is choosing a Just Right book, or how do we select a book from the classroom library to check it out and check it back in? What are those processes that you're going to go through to ensure that the books are not a hot mess at the end of the day? Because let's just say they do. They get very, very messy at times. So I highly recommend not only doing this for maybe a morning time and dismissal time and also for your classroom library, but find some of those other time periods where you could utilize an SOP, that standard operating procedure, to help make this transition go so much more smoothly. Okay, so we talked about what an SOP is. We've talked about why we should be using it, when we should be using these SOPs. Now let's talk about how we actually build this with our classroom. So I mentioned that we have our images that we will cut up, and you want to have some form of an anchor chart that you would put this on. Now, I don't have chart paper that I'm going to sit here and show it with you. So instead, I'm going to give you a much smaller version of this. So here we have a legal size piece of cardstock. It is completely blank. I have some Sharpies here to help me with writing, and I printed off some smaller versions of these images that I received from Canva. Now, the way that I did this is when you open up Adobe, you have the ability to do multiple per page. And I just did it with a 2x2. And what it did is it put 4 different pages onto one piece of paper, which ended up making the images a lot more small to allow me to be able to create a much more mini version than the huge anchor chart that I would usually create inside of the classroom. So we're going to talk about doing a morning routine one because that tends to be one of the ones that's the most involved in the morning. So I'm going to walk you through what ends up happening. So one of the first things that happens is I want students to be able to come in. So we have a door. We have a door. So there's a door. Their students are going to come in. And then the first thing that I ask them to do is take out their backpacks and I want them to unpack. So that means that they're taking out folders. They're putting those folders away. They're taking out any form of a book that they might have. And then I have them hang it inside of their lockers. So if you don't have lockers or if you have a form of a cubby, there is also like a cubby option as well that you can have students be able to visualize that. Now, here's the cubby version. Now, if you don't want to use pictures, you can absolutely try to Blue's Clues it. And for those of you who are as old as I am, you know what Blue's Clues is, or maybe as young as my sister. So Blue's Clues, Steve could just draw anything, which was fantastic. So you can absolutely try to draw these. I definitely did that in the past and they don't come out as nice. So once they put their items inside of their locker, the next thing that they have to do is go straight to their desk to put any other materials away. So they might go straight to their desk. You might even have them, let's see, I'm looking for my chair pocket. Put any items inside of their chair pocket. From there, you might have them read the morning message. So if you have some form of a smart board, they're going to read the morning message. You might have them put any papers that go to you inside of the bin. So they might actually go to papers, and we're going to do a little bin over here, putting papers inside of that bin. But now that I'm actually looking at the flow here, I'm realizing that something else has to happen. So once they take out their backpack and they put this item here, actually the next step that's going to end up happening is that they have to put their lunchbox away if they have a lunchbox. So they would go here or they would go straight there depending on if they have that lunchbox. So we're kind of creating this like standard operating procedure for them to be able to know what they're doing. And then I might have them take out their laptops let's have them go to the bathroom and also fill up their water bottles. So once they put their papers in the bin, they've read the morning message papers, they're going to the bathroom, they're getting some water. When they come back into the classroom, I may want them to grab their pencils and also sharpen any of their pencils as well. Let's see. Oops, here's a pencil. So I might have them sharpen that pencil as well. After sharpening that pencil, then I might have them to actually take out their laptop from there. I may have them do any form of morning work that I want them to do on that laptop. And then after that, they may end up just reading. So you might want to print out a couple of these. That way you have it. But you can see here, like here's now this like standard operating procedure for how we can build it with our kids. And so what I would do is I would then just add some information. So up at the very top, what I like about this is if you do this ahead of time and you make sure that you have all the images that you need, you can ensure that the process flows smoothly. So you saw how I ended up making changes as I was going through. So here we're going to call this our morning routine. And I'm going to call it an SOP. Like, my kids got pretty good at just knowing what an SOP meant. And so then from there, what I would do is I would paste these down and I would add in little pieces that I would want students to remember. So I would say, come in. From there, we're going to unpack. From there, we're going to place put our stuff in the locker. From there, we're going to do lunchbox, and I might even add lunchbox in the basket. That might be a good one as well. So we're then going to put our materials away. We're going to read the morning message. And then we're going to continue building this out. So I'm going to take a second and then I'm going to glue these down and show you all what this looks like at the very end. So here is my finished product. Here is my standard operating procedure for students to come into my classroom in the mornings. So you can see that I have arrows that kind of show them where to go and what they should be doing for each one. It's simple, it's concise, it's not very wordy. You don't want to make this a reading assignment for your students. You want it to be a way as a visual cue to be able to tell students, oh, this is what I should be doing next, to ensure that every single one of these processes is done. So when students come up to you in the morning, they're like, well, what should I be doing? You point them to the standard operating procedure. So when you create these at the very beginning of the year or at any point in the year, if you want to either begin a brand new routine with them, when you are first introducing it, you want it to stay up for about a week or 2 weeks at the most. And then from there, what you can do is you can have an area in your classroom where you can house all of these anchor charts at the very end. And so I recommend starting off with something called an anchor chart binder. And with this anchor binder, basically what is inside it is just pictures of the anchor charts that you have created with your students and allows them to be able to access it. So it's a binder with just a bunch of page protectors inside of it. What I did here is after I was finished, I took a picture, so a colored picture of my standard operating procedure. Because this is a legal size paper, it is a little bit narrow, so it doesn't fill up the entire page. But typically when I would take the pictures, I would try to fill the anchor chart to the entire page. So you can see that here's the colored version of it. And then I made some black and white versions of them. So I have 3 black and white copies here. And the reason that I do this is that inside of a page protector, I would place the colored copy on top of the black and white copies, and then I would put this whole stack inside of a page protector. And then if I receive a new student at any point in the year and I want them to get used to the routines, I can very easily take out one of the black and white copies, put it onto their desk, give them a folder or their own little mini binder clips that they would be able to track these standard operating procedures to help them know what they should be doing in the mornings. This allows you to continue doing the routines that you're always doing, answering those thousands of questions or listening to those stories of the things that happened the night before from your other students, but then ensuring that those students feel successful and feel as though that they know what is happening and what they should be doing inside of that classroom. So just have a little binder. I had mine kind of tucked pretty close to where my library was, and it was just a big 2-inch ring, 3-ring binder, and I had all of my anchor charts that I had created for the year. Having a spot for your SOPs once you have built it and your students know what they're doing, it's just such a great resource to have, especially when you have brand new teachers. You could also take this out and give it to a sub, and that way they also have an idea of what they should be doing when they're coming, of what the kids should be doing when they're coming into your classroom. So hopefully this has given you an idea of how an SOP or a standard operating procedure can really help to benefit you and your students. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them for me and I will try to answer them. It's a great opportunity for you to do this with choosing a just right book or picking out a book from your classroom library, or what happens at the dismissal time, or what happens when we're coming in and we have some like free time from recess or lunch and we just need to decompress a little bit. Students will be so thankful to have this visual cue, and you're going to feel as though you have a much more tame and managed classroom. Tame is probably not the best word, but you get the point, right? We want it to feel calm. We want students to feel like they know exactly what they should be doing. And so you're not having to repeat yourself over and over and over and over and over again. So thank you all so much for watching this really quick video. If you have any questions, let me know and I will... So thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed this SOP. Let me know, are you going to start using these standard operating procedures in the classroom? Are you going to start using an anchor chart binder? Let me know that down in the comments. If you have any other recommendations, I would love to hear them from you. Or if you have questions, let me know that as well. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you have not already, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I upload a brand new video. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.